So most of the country is experiencing these extremely cold, frigid temperatures. And no matter what I say, I'm going to have 50 people tell me, oh no, you don't know what it's like. It's negative 50 degrees up here in Canada. Well, okay, I don't live in Canada. I live in Missouri, and I live in an off-grid house. So there's that. So I'm going to do another video in front of the fire. Not only is it relaxing and I enjoy it, I think a lot of viewers enjoy it. But when I go outside, my camera the battery just gets zapped with the cold weather. So it takes a lot more effort to make a video in the cold. Now, I'm not complaining, and I'm sure somebody's going to say, well, that's your problem, not ours. Get outside. The issue is you spend 45 minutes outside dealing with the camera and making video, that eventually your hands get cold, everything just gets cold, and then I'm shivering and can't make words. So just going to sit in front of the fire. I tell you, I've tried to explain many times that this is the ultimate life. And it's hard to convince people that I'm giving up modern conveniences for this, and it's better, it's easier. It is, it really is easier. And I can't convince people of that. The mindset is well, I have electric, or you have electric, washing machine and a dryer and a TV and a vacuum cleaner and a heater and a furnace and an air conditioner. There is so much effort that goes into that you are a slave to it. And I said this in a previous video, you're a slave to your freezer. You're constantly dealing with it, constantly making sacrifices and going to work and spending money. I don't have any of that. I don't even have to pay for firewood, and I don't even have to work at it that hard. When you really consider it, I have this app, or did have this app. I'll reinstate it, install it, or whatever this spring. But this app called Free Stuff monitors Facebook Marketplace, and anytime someone posts free firewood, I go get it. So it's free. Now, I know there's a little bit of effort. I got to go get it. Some are easier than others, and Carolyn and I have decided that in the future when we go get firewood, we won't get the hard stuff, the stuff that's really difficult to get to. We got, I would say, 3 or 4 cords from one location. Now, we live on this mountain. The hill that we had to carry this firewood up was just about too steep to walk up. It was terrible. So I would go down, grab 2 pieces of firewood, put them under my arms, and walk it up. We're not going to do anything like that again. We'll be a little bit more selective and picky. If the people want to know, when are you going to come out and all that stuff, I'll just say, hey, can I come out, take a look at it, see if we can do it? I'm an old guy. I'm sure they'd be happy. I mean, then there was others that was really easy to get to. Back the truck up. There was one spot where they were doing a construction site where they were building a cul-de-sac or something. And they cut down a bunch of trees, and they cut everything to log size, everything. To size that would fit in your stove. All kinds of different trees, sycamore, hickory, and oak. And all you had to do is go get it. Now, some of them were really heavy and big, so I took the splitting maul and I split them, but I don't need that much firewood anymore. So if I run into that situation, I just leave the big stuff, take the small stuff, and that way I don't have to split it on site. Because that does get a little tough. And then we can bring it home and we can split it at our leisure. We only need 3 truckloads a year is what I figured. That's 1 cord, 3 truckloads. I just don't see it as that difficult, considering you go to work every day, 10, 12, 15 hours a day, getting yelled at by your boss. I don't get it yelled at anybody. I'm sorry, Carolyn. She didn't yell at me. Hopefully that joke goes well. But again, I am told all the time that there's just no way that this is a more comfortable life. Yet, I have water. Now, I can't get it out of my tank. I showed you the other day that we shut down the tank, but we can still get it out of the well. So we're filling buckets and running hoses. It's a little bit more inconvenient, but we still have water. And I have not missed anything. I mean, we still are doing very well. Look at this, I'm shaved. Everything's great. So I tried to explain in a previous video, I think it was yesterday's video as a matter of fact, that I had a house with a mortgage that I had to get into the crawl space every year, crawling in my little suit, getting dirty, trying to thaw pipes out. And if they didn't get thawed, that means now I'm dirty and I can't get a shower. And it was always unexpected. You know, wow, why did that freeze? You know, so you didn't have any water saved back or anything. But with what we have, I don't need to save back water. And just start the well. It's a backup water source, and it works. I don't think a lot of people think they have a backup water source. I just don't. When water gets shut off, I mean, even in a municipality, I was at Mom's house one time, and it got so cold that the pipes froze, and the city had an issue, and they didn't have any water. What do? You just do without water, and you're snowed in. You can't go get any water. And I told you that I tried to melt snow, and it took so much energy to melt snow. I couldn't keep up with the Berkey, and the Berkey takes about 45 minutes to fill 3 gallons. I couldn't keep up with melting that much snow. In these extreme situations, I don't have any issues. I talk about preppers all the time and how you got to be prepared. And I keep saying, no, just live the life. Then you're already prepared. You don't have to get prepared. I run the wood stove whether it's good weather or bad weather. When it's winter time and it gets cold, I start the wood stove. It's just life, and it's not difficult. Now, in these extreme cold temperatures, I do have to get up in the middle of the night and start the wood stove, but the chimney is still warm. That's what's so interesting. So I don't have to stay up very long. It takes maybe 10 minutes. So I go to the bathroom, I throw some wood into the fire, and within 10 minutes it's up and running. I'm back in bed. No big deal. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, even if you live in a regular house, you still have inconveniences you have to deal with. My inconveniences is, I got to get up and spend an extra 5 minutes or 10 minutes stoking the fire. Whereas in a regular house, you wake up in the morning and you don't have water at all. And I know this because last night, Carolyn started monitoring the Facebook groups of the towns in the area. So we got several towns, around us. And all of a sudden, everybody's posting out, froze up, the water's froze up. Is there a plumber out there? And so now you got plumbing expenses, and those aren't cheap. I'm sure they're like $75, $100 an hour for them to come out and fix your plumbing. I don't know if they're wanting plumbers to come out and thaw their pipes, put heat tape around it, or what they're wanting, or is their pipes broke? I'm sure their pipes are going to break eventually. I'm not seeing the advantages and why my life is so much harder than yours. I remember years ago, regular house, paying a mortgage, paying the electric bill. I think there was like 1.5 feet in snow, and it all drifted. I mean, we weren't going anywhere. In order to get out, a tractor, huge John Deere tractor, one of those big 4-wheel drive things, decided to clean our streets for us because the city couldn't actually, or the county, wasn't coming around to clean our streets. They were taking care of the major roads. So this John Deere, these little pickup trucks, they weren't doing it. So the electric went out, but the electric company couldn't get out to us until the streets were cleared. He cleared the streets, and finally the electric company came out. I bet it took maybe it took a full day. I don't remember, but it took a long time. We didn't have electric. We're all huddled up in the living room, cold. I'm running this 1,000-watt generator that I had. We huddled around this electric furnace. We had a kerosene heater also. But kerosine's so darn expensive. And I think in 24 hours it was using, I don't know, something like $12 worth. I can't remember, but it just seemed really pricey for back then. I have to have a backup plan to survive your conveniences. I'm just not sure it's all that convenient. Yeah, from day to day, you don't think about it. You're a slave to the freezer. You're the slave to the air conditioner. You just pay the bill and go on. But then when it gets bad, I'm the one that's supposedly suffering. And I get this all the time. I hope you guys are doing okay. It's got to be really tough living off grid in these kind of temperatures. No, it's quite simple. Here's an inconvenience for you. I have to load the wood stove two extra times, depending on the temperature, I guess, per day. When the temperatures are down in the 20s and 30s, I load the wood stove about 3 times a day. So that's 3 logs. And now I got to put 5 logs in throughout the day. So yeah, I hear you. Of course, I'm hearing people that their electric bill is going to go up. I don't know how we're going to afford this and all that kind of stuff. Well, I don't have to worry about affording it. I'm just going to go out, wait for somebody to post free firewood, and I'm going to go get it. And you got to imagine this. I get to make a video about me going getting firewood, so I get paid. That's what's cool. I get paid to go and get firewood, so it'd be like you getting paid to heat your home. Same principle. I'm getting paid through YouTube to heat my home. How cool is that? So I don't have to go listen to an employer scream at me all day. Of course, I got the trolls, but you know, that's a job. On those posts that I was telling you about, of course, that's when the heaters fail. Everybody's got heater problems. So they're posting, we need a cheap HVAC technician to come out and look at our heaters. Well, I don't even need that. I guess somebody could say your stove could break. I'm sure somebody's going to say something. The glass is my biggest concern, breaking. But guess what? I have a backup one of those. I got it up in the attic in case it breaks. I broke 2 of these before. So, I mean, I really am kind of always worried about it. They're very fragile. But I broke it because I was cleaning it. I was taking it off and sealing it up and all that kind of stuff, and I broke it. It wasn't that I broke it because I dropped a log on it or anything. So fingers crossed that never happens. They're kind of expensive. They're like $300 a piece. That being said, I don't necessarily have to have glass. I could get a piece of metal. And I have metal laying around here, so I would just take the little grinder wheel and I would cut out a piece of metal to the size of that, and we'd be up and running again. I also have the buddy heater. I don't think the buddy heater could actually keep up with these kind of temperatures, but it would be a good backup. We could bring in a stove, Coleman camp stove, with the buddy heater, and that give us 2 heating items. But you got to be careful with the camping stove because they do put out some carbon monoxide. We have 2 carbon monoxide detectors just for that event. Another thing that's really cool is we live in this tiny house. Oh, I couldn't live in a tiny house. I got to have my space. And then when you need to heat your house, all I hear is, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. It's too expensive. I was asking Carolyn about her wood stove, and even my grandparents, my mom and dad and all them, when I was a kid, you constantly had to feed the wood stove. It was constantly being fed. And sometimes the wood stove wouldn't keep up with the temperatures. It'd still be cold. I remember Grandma and Grandpa's house, the first house they had when I was, alive. They had 2 wood stoves, and there were mornings I'd get up, it was just downright chilly. When they built their big house, their log house, they had a wood furnace, and that seemed to heat a lot better than the Franklin wood stove and this other stove they had in that first house. I guess technologies in the late 80s and 90s was a little bit better, and it was a furnace. It heated the whole house. It was pretty neat. But they always had to putting wood in it, constantly putting wood in it. Every few hours, somebody's going down to put wood in it. Here, we don't have that issue. I get up at 4:30 in the morning. I put 1 log in it. I mean, when I say 1 log, it's 1 log split up. I put 1 log in it. I light it. It runs for an hour or 2, however long it takes. The heat from the stove lasts, in these cold temperatures, 5 hours. On regular days, it lasts about 7 or 8 hours. So in 5 hours, I throw another log in, relight it, and we're off and running. So let's imagine that we get down to really cold temperatures. Well, we haven't used our wood stove to its fullest capacity yet. I haven't started throwing firewood in all day long. As soon as this burns down, I'm throwing some more in. And I don't have to do that. So if it gets really cold, I might have to light the wood stove every 3 hours. I can't imagine temperatures getting so cold that I would have to just keep feeding firewood into it. So this limits how much firewood we have to have. 1 cord, I don't even think people realize how little that is. 1 cord is 3 truckloads, or 3 14-inch diameter base trees on average. I know somebody's gonna say, because I've heard it before. I mean, someone said this, that can't be true. Every tree is different. On average, if you cut down 3 14-inch diameter trees at the base, that's 1 cord. Those 3 trees is 1 cord. That's just not a lot of wood to have to deal with. And I think I could actually do better. If it ever got that cold, we've talked about insulating the attic a little bit better. Originally, we were going to make the attic a loft, so we didn't insulate it very well. We had different plans on how we were going to insulate it. since it's not a loft, we've changed our mind on that. I just can go get some more insulation. And Carolyn and I have talked about it. We may actually do that this summer. Every 5 hours I'm lighting it, I may not need to. The biggest problem we have is our door. The door has a pretty good draft around it. So I think this summer I'm going to buy that squishy foam. I'm going to put it around the trim. It just seems like the door frame has expanded a little. During the summertime, it feels like it shrinks. So I think there's a lot of flexing in the trailer frame. So now that I understand that, we'll get that squishy foam and we'll be able to seal this up. There's actually a little bit of ice at the base of the door, at the bottom of the door where the gap is. Air is coming in. But in the end, we have not had one issue. We have everything we need. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to that video I was talking about. So if I can inspire you to not have problems when you're living your dreams. Thanks for watching.